Hello everyone and welcome back to the Summer 2019 Academy Quarterfinals. Today we're gearing up for our next bout, which pits TSM Academy opposite Team Liquid Academy. I am Julian Pastry Time Car. I am joined by the sage for all things strategy, Alberto Crumbs Rengifo.
I can't wait to get into our second quarterfinal because yesterday's was fire. 5 games between Echo Fox and 100 Thieves.
And as a reminder, yesterday 100 Thieves Academy did manage to hold off Echo Fox Academy in what was a back and forth 5-game series.
Yeah, and Anda was a huge factor in this game. It wasn't just a Sunday show. You see him on your screen here. Game 1 popped off on Elise, 6-0. This is his 3rd game playing Sejuani, and then to round things out on the last one, another Sejuani game. So very meta from him, but very exciting to see that the 100 Thieves team is not just all about Someday. You've got other players stepping up to the plate and really carrying.
And one team, of course, that will definitely be watching today's match will be Cloud9 Academy. They will get to choose their semifinals opponent as the first seed, and it will either be 100 Thieves or the winner of today's match between TSM and Liquid Academy. And whichever team is not chosen will face off against Golden Guardians Academy next week as the semifinals begin. Before we break down the matchup, though, I do find it imperative to go through what are some wild starting lineups. First up, on the blue side, it is TSM. In the top lane, that is not a typo, Grig will be starting in the top lane. In the jungle, Still Speaker, mid lane, Ablaze Olive, bot and support are Tactical and Treats, and actually some new coaches, at least for this team joining us stage, Goldman and Frosty.
Very interesting, but over on the red side, we've got Team Liquid Academy with Jenkins in the top lane, Odd Orange in the jungle, Insanity on mid, on bot is Shoryu, his support Matt, and the coach Dodo, who is standing in for the coach Yaltz.
Coach changes everywhere, as obviously the biggest alarm going off when looking at those lineups is that the reigning champions, TSM Academy, have moved former LCS jungler Grig to the top lane to kick off their title defense.
And that is wild, but the team did come out and tell us why. It's because the former top laner Brandini has been temporarily benched out of behavioral reasons. But if you think about Grig, he was just playing for a starting spot as a jungler on LCS TSM, and now he's on top lane. This man can't possibly have more than 2 weeks of top lane experience. So this really just shows how much TSM prioritizes his leadership, the existing synergy that he's got with the squad as they were the reigning champions last time around. And frankly, I think the meta is fine for that. You saw Lorlo losing lane yesterday and being able to do a lot for his team with the likes of Poppy and Karma, these champions that don't rely on a lot of laning skills.
And we'll certainly test that combo versus Team Liquid Academy, who has limped into the postseason after a roster shakeup of their own.
Yeah, and Odd Orange has frankly been lukewarm as a replacement for Mike Young. And the reason being is that Odd Orange was picked up as somebody that was known for his mechanics, not the shot-calling void that Mike Young has left for the team. That was his strength, and now the team is really trying to figure out what they can do with this player. Do they level him up to become a shot caller, or do they find a new voice in the team? We have seen them struggle in best of ones, but a best of series is a whole new animal, which might allow him to shine.
Yeah, and again, he's also had some moments on stage when he was back on Echo Fox Academy as well, so certainly a player that can go off when conditions are right, but it's been a tough ask for Team Liquid Academy, basically in that mid-season point where they had to change everything, losing one of their main players, losing one of their big voices, and restructuring a team in the middle of your split is very, very difficult. So TLA, they are here in playoffs, but they didn't want to play against the defending champions.
Well, on the bright side, they are up against Grig in the top lane, who, until we see him play out, might be a point of weakness. We really have never seen this player play in the top lane before, and he's always been known to be a very proficient jungler in solo queue and then having some success in the LCS and even more so in Academy. But really, a good strategy for Team Liquid here might just be focus the top lane. You have no idea what this player brings to the table, so as an X factor, it's always nice to at least throw something to the win, see if it works in game 1, and that's what game 1 is all about in a best of series anyways. We saw yesterday the teams kind of testing each other, not a lot of action in the first game, and then games 2 onwards to 5 were just as bloody as we like our Academy games.
Well, I mean, think about potentially the upsides. You know, you now have an extra jungle brain to help out Speaker, who is the new addition to TSM Academy. So we'll see what happens here in draft. Very curious to see what Grig is up to there on the top side, but we will start things off. TSM on the blue side will ban away Xayah, and TL will answer back with Yuumi.
We're seeing a lot of Xayah bans on the blue side, and It's not a champion that is really worthy of a first rotation, but it's just a lot more powerful when you take it in the second for red side, where you can lock away the Xayah Rakan combination. So understandable why that's been going around. And let's see if Team Liquid Academy also bans away the Karma. So red side has been really prioritizing banning away those power pick supports that are very easy to just first pick, and there it is, Karma locked out.
Yeah, Aurelia also continuing to see quite a lot of bans. Obviously, knows that it can go into either solo and combines very well with Sejuani, which both of these junglers like to play. So kind of getting that one out, and Jenkins receiving the customary cannon ban as well.
Interesting that the cannon ban gets dropped in the first rotation and not the second. So thinking that Team Liquid Academy would lock that away right from the start. And with the Sylas ban, you do have Sejuani, you've got Jarvan available too. I think that TSM likely is to just play it cool, play it safe, lock away the Sejuani, and you're happy with that. As Sylas, the most modern answer to the pick, is no longer available.
Yep, seems like a really smart first pick there for TSM Academy, but likely very obvious there, so we'll see what TL's plans are as far as responses go. Hovering Tahm Kench right now. Certainly have seen Shoryu and Matt do a lot of the lifting for Team Liquid Academy. They were kind of positioned to be one of the better bot lanes in Academy this split, but again, the whole team being shaken up kind of made that a tricky task. But if they can draft themselves something strong, or at least something safe, Tahm Kench does lend himself to that. So that will be the first pick here for Matt, who has really kind of borne the burden of also being the big leader now for this team.
Well, he was even more of a leader when Mike Young was on the team, when he was playing the Gallios, the engaged champions, trying to make sure that the party could get started by his own merit. And with the Tahm Kench, I wonder if Team Liquid is going to have different approach to shot calling or engaging. It's going to be odd orange with the Jarvan, but without Matt being the dynamic duo that we had between him and Mike Young, I'm really curious to see what Team Liquid has prepared during the last few days, because this is something new that we haven't seen from them lately.
Well, we are expecting pretty safe drafting from TSM Academy, so Ezreal to kind of block the Ezreal Tahm Kench and give it to Tactical, who's very proficient on the champion, and Ablaze Olive deciding that Corki Blind is fine, wants to take a hero, though Insanity every now and then we'll play something kind of spicy, so we'll see if he does have a particular counter pick prepared. Did see Yasui yesterday play Kai'Sa, maybe most interestingly into that matchup.
And those two picks of Ezreal and Corki do make it a little bit harder, but for Odd Orange, ganking the Ezreal as Jarvan, very difficult, and then Corki as well, obviously having the Valkyrie, Jarvan being such a strong pick against the immobile mages, the likes of a Syndra and Orianna, these kinds of picks, even Cassiopeia, that just have no way of getting out when the Jarvan is right on top of you. So a lot of it is going to come down to Odd Orange being able to outplay this. I'm looking at specifically a flash combo of him to be able to interrupt the mid Valkyrie, and plays like that are really what's going to allow the Jarvan to stand out against TSM Academy.
Those 6 picks, though, feels pretty standard as TL finish off with Varus, likely for their bot lane. There is a Azir banned away, though, by TSM Academy, kind of just taking out the other big scaling pick there in mid. There's often opposite Corki, and 2 support bans for TL, Rakan and Braum taken away from Treats.
Braum pretty useful at getting rid of a lot of Varus's poke, if he was to go that route, and I'm wondering what Ablaze Olive has in mind here, because banning away the Azir is a matchup that Corkis are always fine taking. It's just a trade lane, so banning away mid just seems like a guaranteed way to get a better Corki matchup, but it's not like Corki really has 4 matchups. You're just farming and splitting most of the time.
Yeah, I think maybe just taking the powerful champions away. Azir are very good in the mid to late game, and Twisted Fate, once he gets going, if he can get out of the lane, is very powerful. So I think just taking strong meta mid laners away and kind of forcing Insanity down to Veigar, which is something we've seen a lot in LCS. If you watch Niski, he likes this matchup quite a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that a force. That is a powerful pick. Niski ran that into Jensen's Corki and did really well in that game. So this is a pick that obviously scales tremendously well and has fantastic synergy with the likes of the Jarvan, and it's pretty good at getting rid of Corki. If you drop the cage on him, you can't Valkyrie out of there. Same with Sejuani's Arctic Assault. So a lot of gank assist from mid and jungle here, and that's a good way to shore up that shot calling engage. If Veigar can just drop a cage and you've got a fight right there when you want it.
Well, Aatrox is the pick there for TSM Academy up there in the top side. So, and Taric gonna join there for Treat, something we don't see too often, especially when not alongside something like a Sona. But always a fun champion to kind of look out for. Curious to see how Tak and Treats want to play that matchup. But a meta top laner for Grig. I mean, Aatrox is a sometimes jungler, let's call it, so he certainly probably has some games on the champion at least.
He is not as hard as you would initially think because you can run Grasp on the Aatrox. You can actually sustain yourself pretty well. So in the matchup against Gangplank, I think that this is Jenkins saying, you know what, this is probably a bit of a weaker top laner. Let's go ahead and scale. Let's pick something that if Grig is not used to it, I can bully the lane. And if he is, that's fine. I'm always going to have that late game insurance. And if you think about what Team Liquid's packing here, you hit that late game, Cage into Gangplank ultimate is a nightmare situation for any composition.
Yeah, you were talking about ways to try and lock down the two marksmen here between the Ezreal and the Corki, but GP ult goes a long way in trying to slow down a marksman and pin them down, because it can be tough to hit them with certain CCs, but as soon as one lands, almost always the second one will land.
Yeah, and a lot of bursts too, right? Each of these members has just incredible ability to one-shot somebody. If you drop down the crowd control, Corki burst, you've got Varus with the new charge on his Blighted Quiver. So execution will be the name of the game this time around. There's no this composition outscales. It's all about who really has shown up today.
Certainly feels pretty comfy as far as compositions go for either side. It really just is a question of how do TSM look with Grig in the top lane, because I feel like this is a comp that they would happily play blind in against a lot of different opponents. It's just that they have a lot less practice, we have to assume, with Grig over Brandini. But TSM still looking to make another run back to the finals for their second title. No one has ever won Academy MSI and Academy Worlds in the same year. They could be the ones, Crumbs.
Well, that actually would be quite the trophy case if TSM were to accomplish that, and I think they look good here. I really have high hopes for Grig in this matchup, although he is running Conqueror on the Aatrox. He'll have a little bit of a harder time there if he struggles against Jenkins Grasp. That matchup is really just difficult when you have Grasp against somebody that takes Conqueror, because the instant sustain is really just so much stronger early than you have to get 4, 5 abilities off.
But
to start healing.
Who is the great equalizer in all lane matchups, Crumbs?
It's the jungler.
It's the jungler.
It's always the jungler.
All right, let's see if Speaker does indeed go there. But for now, both teams just fanning out across the river, keeping it nice and safe here. And looks like one ward only been placed down so far by Team Liquid Academy. You can see it just left of Odd Orange's Jarvan there. But nothing crazy. Everyone just going to start kind of as where expected. See if Speaker does move down towards the bottom half of the map, but it does seem like he is going to start on the top half here.
And the compositions on both teams are really telling us that we're going to have a slow early game. There's not a lot of places where these laners can go. Mid lane is running Cleanse for a Blaze Olive, and Insanity is just looking to farm. You have infinite scaling on Veigar. You need your cooldowns before you start really wrecking havoc on the backline. So they're fine there, and then you've got the safest bottom lanes you can have when you have Tom Kenton and the Taric that's also running Cleanse. So both supports really just trying to stay alive here. So I think the junglers are going to be more than fine to continue to farm, and it should overall end up benefiting Spica as the Sejuani does hit that level 6 spike. And when you have a Veigar in the enemy team, that's a pretty easy gank to continue to go for as you level up.
Yeah, TSM Academy have not been the fastest team this split. So I'm expecting some pretty deliberate games, especially when the drafts look like this. Tack and Fruits, though, just trading poke where they can, but it doesn't seem like bottom lane going to have too many fireworks right now. Blaze Olive, on the other hand, trying to get the lane pushed in versus the Veigar. Nice step forward there from Insanity to dodge that Phosphorus Bomb and get a trade back there with the Q. But again, with the Klepto and the Corrupting Potion here for Blaze Olive, don't expect too much to happen, although Insanity is running Electrocute. So definitely more focused on a bit more early game power and trading rather than something like Comet, or even something that scales a little bit more. We see Spellbook sometimes as well for Veigar.
We even see what's you know what?
Dark Cover?
Completely forgot. My mind
Guardian?
has blanked. But what hasn't blanked is the dragon, as we now have a mountain that is going to...
Your favorite Drake, Crumb.
It is a very good dragon, but early on it's not that amazing. Yesterday we really saw that Echo Fox did lose quite a few games because of the lack of priority on this objective. it really came down to you win the team fight, march straight down the mid lane, end the game. And when a lot of these teams are looking to just sit around the mid lane or continue to fight around an objective instead of 1-4ing or 1-3-1ing, it makes it a lot harder to get these objectives, which is why the priority of the mountain rises. Because if you win the fight decisively enough, you just march it down to a major objective like Elder or Baron, or just end the game flat out. So I'm looking out to see which team is going to be able to do so. I have to imagine that TSM Academy is going to have an easier time when you have the Corki that can continue to shove the FLICKR.
Sejuani also coming down for a gank. Matt already burnt the cleanse here, so they are going to go in for it. Speaker looking for the stun, is going to land it. Knockout's good as well. Flash there from Matt, going to try and get out of there. Shoyu looking a body block and does escort Matt out safely.
That is the new tanky Tam Kench. A little bit squishier than before, but still the early levels are weak enough that they can't burst him down.
Again, as you mentioned, cleanse there for the Taric, so not a lot of aggressive summoner spells to add to that one, especially without an upgraded smite there for Speaker. So they get 2 summoners, which is always nice, but don't get the first build that they were perhaps looking for. In the meantime, that does mean Grig is currently alone here in the top half of the map, down 16 CS, which is quite a lot. We'll definitely have to keep track of how much of an advantage Jenkins can really build here in this 1v1.
And if the Gangplank is allowed to just push as much as he wants, he's going to rack up the gold, rack up the stacks of the grasp, and really start bullying away the Aatrox. And even though it is a powerful pick, I think this is really expected. It's a jungler. He's not an actual laner. What a surprise. He's going to be fine when it comes to team fights, but in the laning phase, it's where we thought the weakness would be, and it's showing.
Early on, at least, that is the case. There's good dodge there from Ablaze Olive, despite being trapped in the cage. Does not get stunned, though, and actually has gone for a cull here, so definitely committing to kind of the slower pace we expected here on the TSM Academy side. Speaker, in the meantime, not going to hit that blast plant. Maybe back down to the bottom half of the map, but no ganks this time, actually just finishing off the rest of his jungle as he's back for the Crux.
So he doesn't hit that plant because there's no pressure in the map. His bottom lane is shoved in, his mid is shoved. If he were to reveal that vision, it's not likely that he'd be able to actually move up and start clearing it. So instead, he chooses not to use it, and it's unfortunate that Odd Orange takes it, but that's the thought process behind letting that one sit.
It's one of those things where I think only junglers in a lot of cases, maybe some supports, think a lot about plants and how to use them effectively. Certainly I never think about them, but it makes sense that at that point wasn't really too much use for it. Orange does at least get the information, and now he's down to the bottom half of the map. Will be spotted on top of that control ward. Good dodge there from Tactical going up as Matt looked for the tongue lash. That's a little bit of extra pressure there from Team Liquid, but as we know, Odd Orange is going to walk back towards mid lane anyway.
He's doing a nice job just continuing to farm as the Jarvan, because there's such little action. A lot of these junglers are just going to be able to find advantages by out-farming the opposing jungler as they continue to trade pacing back and forth in the map, looking for camps, looking for scuttles, or looking for a team fight.
Seeker finds the stun, gonna force Odd Orange out of there, has the aftershock there on the Sejuani, so Odd Orange not really capable of fighting. That will give Speaker control of this topside crab. Grig also returning back to the top lane, down about 20 CS as he TPs back in. But does have those Ninja Tab eyes, so wanting to keep nice and healthy here as he looks to push the rest of this wave out. Jenkins has not used that TP though, I think walked back the first time, so already with the Sheen, definitely playing much more aggressively in this matchup. Again, kind of to be expected.
Yeah, and already has the Gangplank ultimate too at level 6, so any fight in the bottom lane that TSM may want to force against Matt, probably going to be answered back with a Cannon Barrage, so that's the third member that they have to consider, and that makes the game go into another lockout phase where we're just going to be trading farm back and forth and back and forth. And this could be the one window of opportunity for TSM. You give blue up to Ablaze Olive over Insanity, he's going to be able to shove out the mid lane, and with Spica basing, he's expected to go to the red side, grab red buff, and maybe we see a fight break out for the dragon. It's just that, well, there's a massive teleport disadvantage in the top lane for Team Liquid.
Yeah, until Jenkins decides to commit that cooldown, I think is a tough ask. But the rest of the map, I think just fine on both sides as people are farming up. Ablaze Olive has a nice lead of his own there in the mid lane, and again is ticking down that cull ever so slowly, so we'll have even a bit more gold to work with once he does finally cash that in. Speaker has also applied some good pressure. making sure to keep track of Odd Orange, and did have a nice attempt for Matt in the bottom half of the lane, but it does seem like Matt's cleanse has come back off cooldown, so the potential regank, despite Sejuani having her ultimate, could be tricky to pull off here, as Insanity finally going to get the blue buff of his own.
I mean, Jenkins has been crushing the top lane without using his teleport, right? He still has it up, still has Cannon Barrage, so to make plays around the bottom lane for TSM is going to be super tricky here, and it really has to come down to Spica finding a way to do this. And maybe a counter gank on mid is the right play. Looking at Odd Orange,
Yep,
there
going for it, gets the ulti done as well, closing with a W there, going to force the flash out of the way, but no stun, or already committed there, I think, on the permafrost, so Odd Orange will flash, but does not fall down. First Blood still available for both teams here.
I am surprised that Spica chose to go in there with the ultimate first instead of trying to proc his own stun and then going with the ultimate, increase the damage chain that way, but instead, he gets away.
Greg, looking for something here. Oh, that's awkward.
Not the time you wanted to see that.
Looks very stylish, I will say. It's flipping in the air.
It's a kickflip. Kickflip with a sword.
It's a very dramatic, you know, it's like a cliffhanger at the end of an episode of TV. What's going to happen next, Crumbs?
As the fist is
Grig going to get a... Is the first blood of this game going to be Grig solo killing someone?
No, I don't see it happening here.
Let me click on him.
Let's see. You have it.
Does he have oranges? He does.
Yeah, he's got oranges. He has flash. I think he's going to be able to pop a barrel and get away too. So,
but if he does get the kill...
Yeah. If he does, then that's huge. That should equalize the lane disadvantage that Aatrox has been under.
All right, well, do have a quick break. Matt apparently has to use the bathroom, so just a quick pause for that.
Wow, okay.
It's all okay.
When nature calls, you got to answer.
That's true. So far, I think the pace of the game is kind of as expected.
Yeah, playing rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, nice. Who's winning?
He did scissors into rock into paper. Can we get a split cam? Is it possible?
I'm trying to see if
we have the technology.
I'm like, okay, I can't quite see their hands from up here, unfortunately. Looks like I think Tactical just lost because he shook his head.
Yeah. Yeah, just a very slow-paced game for both teams. They're all just saying, let's hit the late game. We saw what happened yesterday with the series. Teams were unable to really close out games very quickly unless something dramatic happens. So they realized, listen, if our opponents are winning with these scaling compositions in the best of series, let's give it a shot and see what works, because you don't want to be caught in a position where you hit 25, 30 minutes and suddenly you just can't do anything because your champions have gone way past their power spike.
And that is kind of, again, to be expected, I think, how these two teams have played. They've both been very mid-game heavy, I would say, as teams. TSM Academy, happy to play scaling, happy just to, you know, farm things out, use kind of a lot of their strong laning and slowly build advantages and win the game. And I think TLA, at least with Mike Young, were fairly similar. The aggressive teams are actually waiting in the semifinals. So no matter which of these two teams go through, I think will be very interesting to see how they match up, because both Cloud9 and Golden Guardians, I mean, one of the reasons they're on top and waiting with that first round bye is because they are certainly the more aggressive teams in Academy.
Yeah, they don't play this style, but you don't have to be better than those teams for this. You simply just have to be better than each opponent. That's why you hear players say, you know, we take it one game at a time, one opponent at a time, and it's very right. When it comes to these brackets, you really focus on the individual player, and if the strategy to beat either of these teams is to play it a little bit slower, and that's what you're most comfortable with, so be it. But we see that Matt is now back in the chair, so the game should be resuming shortly.
Also, a very different thing for both these teams. TSM Academy have said that they don't feel like they're a very good best-of-1 team, but they do think they're a very good best-of-5 team. So that will be tested here, and maybe as the series ramps up, we'll see, you know, a bit more aggression once you start figuring out your opponents. And we do know that Team Liquid Academy, Insanity especially, has a ton of different champions he is willing to play. This game he hasn't been overly aggressive, but he's certainly not afraid of it, as we do come back in, and Greg decided that, you know what, wasn't going to convert that kill.
And, you know, I think about the best of series that you always think about is the stamina, right? How long can you actually sit there and play without getting tired? But another aspect that is really hard to quantify is tilt. If you have a bad game in a best-of-1, you forget about it and then you play the next one and you're fine. You shake it off. You don't have to really think about it. A lot of players can sit and dwell on that game for the rest of the day. But that does not work in a best-of series.
No.
You need to be able to have a really bad game shake it off and play like it never happened that time around. So it tests your mental fortitude more than you'd really think at the very start of the game. And it's only once you're face to face with a terrible scoreline that you realize, I need to get my act together.
I mean, you know, we see teams and players all the time, you know, go on swings of wins and losses depending on how they're feeling. So momentum is real even when you're playing, you know, only 2 games a weekend during the regular season. When you're playing way more than that in one best-of-5 series, all in one block, it certainly can be very different. So I have to agree with you there. Always one of the reasons why best-of series are so exciting is that they kind of develop in their own little way as things continue on. Also, while we're at it, objectives are starting to be traded. Team Liquid Academy had enough bot side pressure that they were the ones to get the first Drake and pick up the mountain, but a responsible answer here for TSM. They will take the Rift Herald as all 3 topside members collapse together to make sure that goes down quickly.
That was a neat ward there by Jenkins, and I wonder if Odd Orange could have actually based right after Dragon and looked to defend the Rift Herald instead of continuing to farm because he's running out of mana. But perhaps the package in mid lane and the priority in top would have been too much for one lonely Jarvan to investigate.
So it seemed that timer was running low there for Blaze Olive. Although he may have got stunned, so just going to use it regardless. And continuing to farm things up nicely, holding that 20 CS lead still. And it's only 23 CS away, cashing in on that Cull. See how quickly he can get to that Trinity Force, which is kind of the first big point for Corki. Bottom lane also looking good right now as Tactical and Treat get things pushed up, but farm overall is even in that 2v2. So first Blood Gold and first Tower Gold still up. I know you're a big fan of cashing in on those plates with the Rift Herald crumbs, so we are expecting TSM Academy to use that quite quickly here.
You absolutely have to cash that in. There's almost no point in very seldom situations that you want to use the Rift Herald for any other purpose. If you can squeeze one in before 14, the more money your team is going to get, which should hopefully snowball the matchup for you. So it's going to be used in the mid lane. I like this choice. Really try to punish the Veigar right now, and with all the money going to Corki's pockets, it's a fantastic timing as Veigar not only has the base, but you've got Treats and Spica right up in there trying to help him out if anything.
Yeah, I like how efficient Spica was willing to be there. He actually dropped it while he started the Raptor camp, I think. So very much making sure that he could get it. As Blaze Olive forced to burn the cleanse there.
That was tragic. Used the Gatling gun, ended up hitting Insanity out of that.
Well, he's going for at least one more plate here, and with TP coming in from Insanity, not an option for Blaze Olive to finish off and get that little bit of extra gold. He's only got 1:15 to cash in on the final plates. How greedy is he willing to be?
What a tax. What a jungle tax. The guy is TPing. You know what? Let me take all these.
You don't need to be here in time. I got you, don't worry. Can't let this go to waste. Also curious to see GOP there from Insanity. Yeah, I've seen Electrocute proc, so he definitely has that rune. That is not incorrect. But this is normally what we see with the Glacial Augment builds, so curious to see how GOP works out, although the philosophy of the item is very much the same.
Yeah. You also see Proto Belt potentially on the Veigar, getting in there, getting a little bit closer, even though it might not be the standard item for this champion, but you can see its merit, right? Push yourself a little bit closer, hit that cage, especially against champions like Corki and Ezreal that are always trying to skirt with danger in the very edge of Veigar's skills.
Yeah, again, given that you have to pin down an Easy and a Corki, you need a little bit of assistance, as Blaze Olive will return to lane with the Triforce now finished, and the call cashed in. There was some pressure fainting down the bot side here for TLA, but Tactical just burning the ulti there from Ezreal, and making sure that stays back, and Blaze Olive continuing to space very well here against Insanity's Veigar.
He has to concede pressure in mid lane because of burning that cleanse, so that was the opportunity for Team Liquid to look for maybe setting up a play in the bottom lane, utilizing Gangplank ultimate, but instead the wave was really well handled by the TSM bottom lane. And frankly, it might even be a bit too difficult to dive now when you've got Treats with the cleanse and the Cosmic Radiance, Tactical with the completed Frozen Fist. I mean, we are here in what is possibly the slowest Academy game all split long. 15 minutes in, not a single kill.
No, not even a tower really being taken down.
Barely any plates, too.
Yeah, I don't think Elozov got that last plate, so it's just going to be 3 there in mid lane, at least for him. I do believe Jenkins got some of his own, so I imagine that plate gold somewhat even, and actual gold looks like TSM Academy are up about 1,500. I think Double Klepto is helping contribute to that stat, if nothing else. Mid lane though, Speaker, good flash there, following up with that Q, and they're going to look for first blood. He will get it. Very clean there from the Sejuani.
Really nice timing out of Speaker to go for that gank right now because there is an Infernal that is coming up. Insanity does not have teleport. He's not going to be able to go for that. I wonder if Odd Orange could have used his Cataclysm to actually keep Speaker in there, but a fight's breaking out.
Yeah, they have to fight Speaker. If they get the kill, it's much harder for them to get the Drake, so Closing Radiant's not down in time, and here comes Grig. TP, and he goes. The Blaze all for the first kill onto Odd Orange, and now they'll keep chasing. They won't show you. They will get the double there for the Corki. And the next target will be lined up, but Grig not able to connect that Q. Still, TSM Academy with 2 kills out of that.
2 for 1, and they do have priority. They might be able to go for this Infernal, but instead they're going to try to get those quick resets and get back to the fight ASAP. They don't want to be giving away this dragon to either of these teams. So let's see how this all went now, because Speaker completely out of sight, hits a nice little flash onto the Veigar, chains it with the ultimate. And this is where I wonder if Jarvan used Cataclysm. I think Speaker dies. He has no flash, so he wasn't in tower range. He might not have seen that Speaker actually burned flash for the initial engage.
Does use it there though. TP also comes down, so there is enough to get the next kill, but Grig, really nice TP here to clean up.
The Tam Kench does a nice job here, and it's just unfortunate that the W of Aatrox connected so late that the Varus was able to get away, because otherwise that's a kill right there, and certainly it would have been the Inferno.
Yep, also looks like Scuttlecrab was the next target there, as Blaze Olive helping Speaker actually picked up the package from base. His bottom side, Treats may be in trouble, not going to get knocked up. Good dazzle there, but eaten by Matt. It's going to be even more CC. Treats now in trouble, can't really run anywhere. Going to burn the stopwatch to buy a little bit more time, but will fall to show you in the end. But here comes Speaker and a Blaze Olive to try and clean up Speaker in. Going to get stunned though by a beautiful cage out of Insanity. And that is going to leave just the 1 kill for TLA. They sneak that one away and take out Treats.
That's the advantage that Team Liquid has when they die off of the previous fight. They get to reset first, make it first of the play in the bottom lane, gets that kill. But now we're still having both teams fighting around the Dragon.
Speaker ready with the ulti. Good cage again, finds 2, but a Blaze Olive will burn Cleanse to get out of it. Grig going back in, pops the ulti, but no real help coming through. So he's just going to have to back off towards his teammates. Treat's still not back up, and Tactical is walking from bottom lane, so another round of ultimates blown, but still no kills coming out.
We just have not reached the tipping point for either of these teams to feel comfortable going for a Dragon. Just 1 kill and getting chunked out has not been enough. TSM has finally got what they need with 5 members alive. It's going to be their Dragon.
Looks like they managed to force the reset, so Drake indeed over to TSM Academy. We'll even that back up and pick up the first Infernal of the game. Is that your second favorite Drake? I'm going to assume.
It's a really powerful one. Imagine if you were to have given that away to the likes of Veigar, right? An infinite scaling champion getting increased percent on his ability power would have just been devastating to deal with. So it's as powerful as it can be on TSM, but even more so when you factor in the denial aspect against Insanity and the rest of Team Liquid.
Well, continuing to look at a Blaze Olive here, 2-0-1, 250 gold bounty, and racking up items at a pretty breakneck pace here. Trinity Force plus the Hex Drinker and even a pickaxe all done. So he's going to be quickly moving into major item number 2 pretty quickly. You can also see that Grig, again, despite the CS discrepancy, has kind of kept it here at 20 for this game, whereas Blaze Olive is actually able to get some pressure and an even bigger lead for himself in the 1v1.
He's doing really well, right? You lose a little bit of the lane, but you can see the impact he's trying to have with the rest of the team, teleporting down, trying to make roams around the rest of the players that are going for Dragon. So he's got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to the objective control, and maybe that is why TSM felt comfortable having him at a last-minute substitution over Brandini, just knowing that the boy Grig, he's done it once before in a role, he might be able to do it again.
Yep, certainly a veteran of this league, if nothing else. As 2 towers actually fall to TSM in pretty short succession. They'll take their mid outer, as the Blaze Olive does finally collect the first tower gold, and bottom lane falls just about as quickly there as Tactical and Treats had enough time to push while TLA were off another map reset. So now things are starting to get a little out of hand. About 4,000 gold ahead right now for TSM Academy. TLA kind of struggling to find spots to break through and grab gold for themselves.
Been those towers, those plates, and most of all, a giant CS discrepancy in the mid lane. Already about 60 in the favor of the Corki, just having more access to blue buffs, better wave clear out of him. So he's been really working Insanity here, and Insanity forced to play so far back, not having that cleanse. I think this would have been one of those games where you would have really liked to have the unsealed spellbook to be able to swap into cleanse when you really need it. Maybe the early laning phase of the TP, swap off later, and so you don't have to respect Spica's ability to just pop you right away as much as he has to do now.
Also looks like starting to get some swaps happening here. Blaze Olive actually up towards the top side. Going to start working on that turret. Does not have TP. I was kind of forced to take cleanse with all the CC that TLA have. But surely doesn't have it either, although Matt will join him now in the top lane. As Orange loses a couple mini raptors there to Tactical's ulti, but does at least snag the big one for himself. Does feel like now that almost 21 minutes have elapsed that TSM are lurking around the Baron and trying to make sure they put pressure around this objective.
They have to respect the package. I think Tactical should be fine here.
Nice ult there actually from Shoyu. That might be enough. Into stasis he goes. The stun cage is up, and that stun barely connects as Matt able to get that last hit.
Just willing to die, not willing to use the flash out of that one. So I figured he would use that spell. You know, you kind of use it when you don't want to die.
Well, at least bought time there for a Blaze Olive in top lane. With the package, able to pretty safely take the last outer turret away from Team Liquid. Again, that gold lead starting to build up, and so much space when your opponents don't have any towers and you have all three outers done. I mean, even Grig at this point, you can see how much space he has in the 1v1, because Jenkins just doesn't really have anywhere safe to farm from when the lane isn't pushed back towards the tier 2.
He has to respect that all his team members have actually based and are just getting back on the map. Auto Orange is just coming back, so this is one of those times where if he gets caught out, it just is a completely unforced error. There was nothing to prompt him to have gone for this, because even if you get the kill, the rest of your team can't capitalize on the temporary man advantage that you have on the map. So you want to wait for your team to be in that position to get the most out of whatever advantages you're collecting. And oftentimes, just looking at the minimap tells you the information you need to know, whether you make the right play or you just back off.
Game still continuing though at a steady pace, we'll call it. 20 seconds though till Infernal number 2 will spawn, and already some of that groundwork laid there by TSM Academy as Speaker did take the Scuttler down. Blaze Olive was busy pushing the top lane, but that's all the way pushed to the tier 2 now, so really nice setup and timing here from TSM Academy. I think TL's plan is to try and start a fight before they can truly get everything set up for this objective. But Speaker wants to start one on his own. Onto Matt he goes, he's gonna land the stun, Cosmic Radiance in, Grig straight into the backlines, but blown up by Insanity, did not get the invulnerability from the Taric ulti. So as a result, will force Odd Orange into stasis, but now a 4v5 for TSM.
Speaker's got a War Monks, and he is level 12. He's gonna be able to regen right on up if he just waits it out, so actually, no, he needs that Ruby Crystal.
Yeah, not quite there at the threshold, I think, but still feeling healthy enough. TL though are going to start the Drake. They know they're a man up right now. Tactical looks for Matt. Does chunk him down. Drake goes over, but Orange able to smite it away. Still, will the team fight go their way? That's one kill already onto Shoyu. Make it 2 as Orange falls to Tactical. And TSM, they can't get the Drake, but at least they'll trade for 2 kills.
Pings onto the Baron. This is the right call for them. You've got Grig with teleport. He's going to go right on in there. And only Veigar is going to be able to try to defend this one out. I think that Jenkins, he's pretty strong, but not strong enough to really deter the fact that Tactical can always arcane shift away and start harassing with the Frozen Fist proc. So TSM victorious in this fight.
Also pretty important to actually force Matt away, because he can switch to Smite with Spellbook, but Grig does a great job of hunting him down. TSM have enough vision, and Grig just playing bodyguard to the Baron here. It's going to make it nice and easy for TSM to grab it.
And that is without the Mountain Drake too, so this is going to be a pretty powerful Drake for TSM now that they can go into full siege mode, having Corki with the Infinity Edge. Before we do that, let's take another look at this fight, because Matt gets jumped on right away, and while the focus is a little bit split, Team Liquid really had only started this dragon in the hopes of sneaking. There was no chance of winning any fight beyond that because they were already wounded from the previous fight. They blew all the cooldowns, they had blown summoners too, so it was just a precarious situation. And not wanting to give that over to TSM and really wanted to catch it in for themselves, they are now paying a much bigger price with a Baron siege that they have to deal with next.
Credit to Treats for an incredible flash dazzle to set that up and to show you, and as you said, certainly bears fruit as they do get the 2 kills and then extend into the Baron. So 2.5 minutes to try and play CG. So they'll start in the bottom half here. Tactical going to take the blue buff away, and as you mentioned, can get very tough against these 2 marksmen. In fact, the Blaze Olive finishing the rapid fire cannon especially is fully online as the Corki right now.
This is a really interesting, I'm going to say interesting. It's not a proper lane assignment out of Team Liquid here. You really would like to have a teleport member in another part of the map here because the Gangplank, he's got TP, and I think between Varus and Vega, you actually do have enough wave clear. He's got enough cooldown reduction that you might be able to pop a cage every 2 waves, but instead, he is dealing with the Aatrox in the mid lane.
And unfortunately, the rest of TL dealing with his Corki as he almost managed to shoot down Matt on his own. GLP activated there by Insanity, but kind of just holding up the tide as that big one threaded straight through. Took about 30% of Shoryu's health away. Grig, in the meantime, does get the tier 2 in mid, so now he's going to start pressuring another structure here. Just such a well-coordinated push here by TSM.
The poke is huge. Auto Orange is going to be looking for an engage, and the chains are out.
Decent ulti there until Blazoli, but Speaker and Treats forward there with the Cosmic Radiance to try and protect him. They'll dive back in onto Speaker. He will die without using the ulti. Second stun lands onto Grig. Maybe another kill here incoming for Team Liquid, but they can't stick around for too long. True Shot Barrage almost finds a snipe onto Shoryu, and that Dazzle barely going to miss onto Matt as Grig charges in to the front side of the fight. Still, though, again, they lose the battle but win the war as they have more than enough health and damage to at least get this bottom inhibitor as Grig is continuing to work on mid lane here. We'll see how long TSM want to stick around for.
Even though Insanity has been finding some really nice cages on key members, there's always another member that... Oh, he's dead!
Don't know about that flash tactical, as Insanity had enough damage there to grab that kill, and I think that actually will stop the push. Only 1 inhib lost there by TLA. In fact, maybe more as Matt can at least force the Aatrox ulti on Orange Cataclysm's in. Grig gonna try and find the kill, but not able to get it just yet. Good flash though back towards the team. Grig dodging out as well. Got such fancy feet on the Aatrox. And now Blaze Olive looking to play cleanup. Another big one, maybe gonna be loaded up here, but TL do get away.
These Corki rockets have been hitting like cannonballs today. Blaze Olive at level 16, but now that they've already secured a bottom inhibitor, this makes TSM Academy's job that much easier, securing pressure for the next Dragon and the next Baron. Let's first take a look at how this fight went out, because the Gangplank ultimate got mitigated by the ultimate of Taric, but then the poke from TSM was so crazy. You catch the Ezreal, but then there's the Corki that you have to deal with that is just hitting you like a complete monster. Look at the damage, that's 1 rocket.
Yep, just forcing him away, no health, so can't defend. Did lead to some nice pickups on the back end by Team Liquid Academy. Insanity has been on point with these cages so far. But gonna need quite a bit more than that for TLA to feel comfortable in this game. They're about to lose another Infernal.
They have enough burst to catch somebody out in a cage and then one-shot them before the Taric ultimate comes through. So they have the tools at their disposal. It's just a matter of, can you really execute properly? Because a big part of it is gonna be Odd Orange needs to land a combo on top of the cage as well to keep somebody locked down a little bit longer. Wait, Insanity, what are you doing there? That's crazy.
Yep, just flashing straight into his own demise as Tactical was up there, ready to play cleanup. I guess he was trying to take that tower, but a greedy play cost him his life. As TSM, wasting no time, they take that second Infernal and they're straight back down to mid. And this time TLA have to defend this inhibitor down 1 Vega.
He was pretty much the biggest threat of an engage that Team Liquid Academy had. So this should be a pretty easy objective for TSM, and it's up to Team Liquid to not get caught out here and lose the game.
TSM actually confident enough that they're going to just keep it a 4v4 and have Tactical push out the last tier 2 in top lane. Do need a couple more autos here from a Blaze Olive to take it out, but Speaker will tank. True Shot Barrage will clear the area just a little, and Insanity up in 3 seconds. I think TSM have enough time, but they are being patient as Tactical continuing to work on the other towers.
The 1-4 split instead, and I think they're giving a little bit too much respect to Team Liquid here. Once Odd Orange commits the flag, you know that an engage is just not going to happen. It's not possible. Only Shoryu's Chains of Corruption would have actually been able to start a fight. So instead, they play it cool, and you've got Tactical's Ezreal continuing to push, maybe joining the team once and for all, or maybe just getting a little poke before the next Baron in the next 5 seconds.
I don't know if Speaker was trying to emote, but he actually popped Stoneplate accidentally.
Oh.
I thought maybe he's going to pop it and then tank so Blazol can get the last hit in, but nope, not a thing.
Right, because you could have just walked up, popped the Stoneplate, have your tanks, have your Corki finish the turret, and move back to the Baron.
Getting bored, he just pressed it. Matt, though, forced to flash out of there. Does burn the cleanse as well. Odd Orange tries to go back in, but the Cosmic Radiance trying to cover Tactical. Barely going to live, and actually will get kill credit as a result. Now Grig in the front side, forced into stasis. Speaker going to try and protect him, but Shoyu with the arrow able to pierce that one down. Still TSM. Enough power here to clean up the rest of these structures. They will take out the mid inhibitor, and back to Baron they go.
They can retreat to this objective because Odd Orange is dead. So without a smite threat, both your carries are up. This should be a very easy Baron for TSM. Playing it very methodical, making sure that they don't make many mistakes. When you got a game in the bag, best of series, you might as well revel in the fact that you're winning it. Remind the opponents that they spent most of this game behind, and that does add up. You know, sometimes, at least in other games, when a team feels like they don't have a chance of winning, they'll just surrender right away. They won't give you the time of day to think that you're better or that you have the confidence to continue to win the series.
And again, some trades back and forth, despite Grig going down. A worthy sacrifice here for that first kill for Tactical. And then an easy cleanup of the Baron after that. So, I mean, at this point, TSM Academy were already seeming like they had enough control to easily take Baron number 2, but killing the jungler makes it that much easier. And this should be TSM Academy's push to end this first game here. We'll see how TLA's defense looks.
I can't imagine they'll go 5 down the mid lane again. I think they're looking for a 1-4 split. Having the mid inhibitor already down is going to be easy, but Corki will escort the top lane. I think they'll be more than happy if Team Liquid looks to take a fight 4v5 against them, because a Blaze Olive split pushing power right now is just nutty. Completing the Shiv, and Trinity Force Infinity Edge is going to melt down turrets even without a Mountain Drake. This is just one of the many benefits of a late game Corki.
Doesn't have the package, but doesn't really need it. Distances between the lanes are short enough as TSM will wander into the base. They've got the Baron powering up the super minions. They've got threat onto that bottom inhibitor, and the Blaze Olive is trying to finish off the final turret here in top lane. Team Liquid Academy going to have to try and find their angle.
Here's the split. Grig on the bottom turret. Pings are on him, so Team Liquid knows they need to look for a fight now or never.
Grig working on that. Matt trying to cut up a Blaze Olive, but he already took down the inhib, so there's some rockets instead. Slow not quite connecting there for Insanity. Ulti from Speaker finds the Veigar, and a big amount of damage in the backside of the map as a Blaze Olive trying to find last little bits of AoE to find the snipe. But I mean, TSM don't even need to get these kills. They can just waltz the minions into the base at this point. One Nexus turret looking to fall. TSM just slowly but surely crumbling the structures. Odd Orange goes in. He knows he has to make a final stand, but it is not worth anything in this first game. It's going to be an ace as Matt, the final Liquid member to fall, as TSM Academy are going to take the first Nexus.
Really convincing game. Even though we didn't have a lot of action at the start of the match, TSM knew what their win conditions were going to be. Just keep playing, keep scaling, use the poke of Ezreal and Corki, whittle them down, then get the engage with the Sejuani, finish them off, and then in case something happens, you always have the Taric. So this was a well-executed composition and well-executed game as well, when you consider that Team Liquid Academy were unable to really combo anything together with the Gangplank, the Veigar, the Jarvan. None of it really got to click in the way that we thought it would have at the draft.
I also liked it. As soon as we saw Grig get up, first thing he does is tap Speaker on the shoulder and be like, hey, good job, buddy.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a long time Sejuani player and jungler is like, He did well.
Sejuani respects.
He's there. He's the jungle coach. He's playing in the game. They figured it out. It's a whole new meta game. All right, we are going to have a look at kind of how the game all played out. TSM did start to build a lead despite how slow the game was looking. This has been their game plan all season long.
This was a really nice gank, recognizing that the Veigar had no flash. I think Odd Orange should have really ulted Spica there. I think it would have netted another kill. But instead, Team Liquid chooses to take a fight around the dragon once it got started. So Spica does a nice job of dodging out of that one. And while the ultimate of Tarek comes a little bit late, you've got an Aatrox, as strong as ever, no resets, but still just as scary as he's ever been. World Ender is a very cool name for an ability.
Certainly is, and very fitting for when he starts to get rolling in a team fight. And hey, despite the rough landing phase there for Grig, absolutely knew when to teleport there. So does seem to, at minimum, be on the same page as his teammates.
He'd sacrifice his lane for the benefit of the team, like you're saying,
what a
securing the
jungler.
Infernal. Like, yes, dude, in junglers, I mean, if you think about it, most of the people on the broadcast team are also junglers.
That's
the
true.
most common role.
Makes sense. The ones with the big brains is we'll have a look at another stage of the game. TSM, they lose the dragon, but they take the fight that leads to Baron. And this is the common theme in this game. They would maybe misstep here and there, but they would always win out in the end.
A big danger at a Team Liquid starting this one is that you're fighting on top of a scuttle. So not only do they see you, they're going to be able to just engage onto you as soon as they want. And this was TSM all the way.
My goodness, those damage numbers. That's a field day for Blaze Olive.
There's a reason why Corki's being first picked in a lot of regions. This champion right now is nutty. We're probably going to continue to see him as he is the world's famous Corki, as we all love to
He's back,
experience
finally.
him every single year. But hey, it's safe, it gets the job done, and it fits what these teams want to be doing.
And you can see a lot of smiles there on the TSM Academy side is kind of talking about what they want to do in their upcoming game. Did feel like that game was just, again, very standard for both teams, and TSM Academy probably don't feel too tested after that game. Again, they picked very standard, very safe lanes. The Blaze Olive just kind of farmed up a storm, got two Infernals, and started shooting people. So I am curious to see how the series develops. Again, that is something that's always nice about Best of 5.
I think they have to feel very relieved. You just won a game with a guy that doesn't play top lane. Right?
That's true.
You taken out your
don't know how
top
this is
laner
gonna go.
and you put in a jungler and you thought, well, could this fail? And it didn't. You crushed the game as you saw in the gold graph. So I think that this is a huge boost of confidence for TSM. And on the flip side, a little bit of a head scratcher for Team Liquid Academy, knowing that you were up against the same thing, a guy that doesn't play top lane, and you did lose.
I mean, it's interesting to think, like, what's the correct approach when you believe that you have, laning skill over your opponent in any situation, right? Do you call your jungler up and hard camp the person and just put them into the ground and carry from that way? Or do you do what they did this game, which was isolate the top lane and say, you're good enough that you can get in a lead, we'll try and win elsewhere on the map?
I mean, I really think a lot of it is you need to enable Matt. Like, Matt should not be the guy that's playing Tom Kent's trying to keep everybody alive. He needs to be the one that is making plays happen. We could have seen a crazy duo with Jarvan, maybe, I don't know, a Thresh, maybe...
Play the Galio,
right?
like...
I don't know.
Not right now?
No.
Okay,
Galio
don't
got
play the
nerfed, right?
Galio.
You can't even flash taunt now. Galio is completely butchered. He is gone. Farewell.
Okay, anything else? Maybe Rakan. Game 1, though, went the way of TSM. Let's see if Liquid Academy can strike back after the break. Radiant's not down in time, and here comes Grig. TP and he goes. The Blaze Olive for the first kill onto Odd Orange, and now they'll keep chasing. They won't show you. They will get a double there for the Corki. Trunk him down. Drake goes over, but Odd Orange able to smite it away. Still, will the team fight go their way? That's one kill already onto Show You. Make it 2 as Odd Orange falls to tactical.
Towers, play stall. Drop in. Hit front. I'm on backline. Yeah. Nice. Good job, guys.
That's right.
Nice. That's right, baby.